Good morning again. Today is November the 2nd, and we're pleased to have Sally Pritchett with us on Who's Who this morning. Sally's been with us about 14 years here at Green Spring, and she's been chair of the Philanthropy Committee. I'd call her chairman of the Philanthropy Committee, but I get hit over the head.
You're
probably,
right.
So I won't do that. Welcome, Sally.
Thank you so much.
It's so good to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about your early life. Tell me about where you were born and something about your parents.
Born and raised 50 miles up the road in Baltimore, Maryland, not far away, and raised there, obviously. My parents, I had two of them, a male and a female.
Good.
My father was the chief engineer of the state, what was then called the State Roads Commission, and my mother was a housekeeper, but she did a lot of good in the community also. So that was it.
Yeah. So you went to school in Baltimore?
I went to, yes, we had it was a public all-girls high school.
Oh.
They had two public high schools for girls and two public high schools for boys.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. So I went to one of the girls' ones. And then when I left there, I went to Alfred University.
Well, was it common to have segregated schools and boys and girls?
It was for us.
For us, for you all.
It worked for me.
Well, I'll be darned. Was that common throughout Baltimore, or
Well, there were two schools for girls and two for boys.
Yeah. Not in all of Baltimore, surely.
Yes, all of Baltimore.
Baltimore wasn't all that big then, was it?
You know, it was a million people, less than a million, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, tell me about the all-girls high school. Did you play sports there?
No, we didn't have sports.
Oh, none at all?
No, I was in the chorus, in the choir,
okay,
that kind of stuff.
But did you do anything else in high school? Did you have any special activities?
Just the chorus.
Yeah.
I did a lot of that.
Do you still sing?
No, I don't.
Okay.
That went by the wayside when I joined the Marine Corps.
Oh, well, it's all that hollering, I guess. At the
I guess so. My DI voice.
Before we get to the Marine Corps, though, you attended school in New York.
Alfred University in New York State. It's in southwestern New York State, just over the border with Pennsylvania.
About
yes.
20 miles north of the border.
Sort of, yeah.
Right south of Rochester.
You got it.
Yeah.
And I've spent 2 years there. I loved it.
That's kind of a small college or small school.
When I went there, it was 1,500 students. It was great.
How much is it now? About 2,000?
Yeah, roughly, yeah. Not much more than when I went there.
Does it have anything about it that it's a small school established by some guy named Thayer, I gather? No,
that's
Alfred. I mean,
wrong.
No, Alfred. It's named for Alfred.
That's
the town.
King Alfred.
King Alfred.
It was in the mountains. I mean, straight up mountains.
Ah.
When you went to high school or went to school, you went straight up or straight down.
So your dormitories were okay. You were built on the side of a mountain.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Everything was on the side of a mountain.
Okay. Well, you stayed there for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then you decided you didn't have a major that you.
No, there wasn't any radio and TV, which is what I was interested in. So I had to transfer. Went from 1,500 students there to 15,000 at the University of Maryland. Oh. It's a lot bigger now, but it was 15,000 then.
But you got to major.
I got my major.
Radio and TV production.
Yes.
Well, you're a TV star today, right?
Don't even think it.
All right. Well, you graduated in 1963, and
yes.
Did you have a job right after graduation?
I did odds and yes, I did. I was on a radio station.
In Baltimore?
Yes, in Baltimore. I was a Gal Sally, Gal Friday, Gal Sally,
yeah.
For a jazz program.
Oh.
From 11:15 in the night to 1:30 in the morning.
Boy.
It was very early, yeah. But I was just a sidekick on that one.
And you were young.
Yes, I was young. I could stand it.
Yeah.
Couldn't do that now.
Yeah. No, it'd be a little difficult now.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay, but then you decided to go into the Marines.
Yes.
Why did you decide to do that?
Well, this was a funny story. I was not happy in what I wound up working for the guy that had the show. He ran a series of sandwich shops around Baltimore called Harley's. And I wasn't happy with that. And my parents knew that. My father knew that. My father said, why don't you look into the armed services? I said, right, sure, any day now. So I got home the next day. My mother said, I've called all the armed forces for you to find out what your opportunities are. I said, wait a minute, something's up here. Something's going on.
Something's telling you something.
Exactly. So I narrowed them down, and the Marine Corps had to be the one.
Okay.
Because the person who interviewed me turned out later to be the assistant commandant of the Marine Corps. So it worked out well.
Okay.
And so I went to training in Quantico in the summer of '63.
Mm-hmm. And then on from there, what was your first assignment?
Headquarters Marine Corps. Can't get away from Baltimore.
In Baltimore?
It was right up the road here. It was in the Navy Annex.
And your job, I presume, was in the public information office?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well then what was your next assignment?
Quantico. I didn't get very far, did I? I was a platoon commander at Quantico.
Oh, okay.
That was only lasted for about 6 months.
A platoon for
the
training platoon?
Training. The kids,
yeah.
the ladies coming in.
Yeah.
So I was their platoon commander.
Yeah.
And so then from there on, I went to school myself. They finally sent me to school. It was about time. Mm-hmm. In Fort Benjamin Harrison. You ought to be familiar with that.
Oh, yes.
Uncle Ben's Rest Home, we called it. That's what it was. And then,
I've never been there, though.
Oh.
But that's where we were paid from for a long time.
Exactly.
So I knew
I know that. I used to teach classes down at the Finance Center
Was
there.
that the Defense Information School?
It was, yes.
Oh. And what kind of courses did you teach?
Well, that wasn't teaching. I just went to school there as a student, and then I went back later on as a teacher.
Oh, I see. Did you have an assignment after going to school?
Yeah, I went out to Camp Pendleton.
Oh.
Spent a year there. Then
Again, as a public information officer?
Yeah. Oh, I was always the public information.
Okay.
Until I got to be a colonel, and then he said, "You can't have that anymore." I said, "No, not fair." So then they finally sent me back to Quantico, of course. No, they sent me back to Headquarters Marine Corps, and then eventually back to Defense Information School as an instructor and the Marine Corps liaison to the school.
Now the headquarters is that H&I? Is that
8th and I, no.
That's the barracks.
That's the barracks.
Yeah.
No, this was at the old Navy Annex
Okay.
on Columbia Pike area.
Oh, the old Navy Annex.
The one that's been torn
okay,
down
next
now.
to the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, up the hill from the
Yeah.
Pentagon, yes.
Yeah, I had, when the plane hit the Pentagon,
Yeah.
I had a friend that was just going into the door as the plane passed by.
It went over my head.
Were you there?
No, it went over my house.
Oh.
I heard it go over.
Oh, okay. Well, he was standing there at the Navy Annex and saw it hit.
Oh, yeah. Awful.
That's another story.
Yes, it is. Thank goodness.
Well, anyway, let's go on to the Defense Information School. You went back out there.
Yes. And I was a Marine Corps liaison to it, meaning I was a senior Marine, and then I taught public policy and public information.
Now, the Defense Information School, is that a school for all services?
Yes, absolutely.
And they teach just the public information officers? Is that the?
Well, no, it's all ranks.
All ranks.
All ranks and all services.
Okay. And what's their mission? What are they?
Teach how to be a public affairs officer, public affairs person.
Okay. But it's not teaching how necessarily to get. It wouldn't be teaching senior officers maybe how to get along with the.
Yeah, it does that too.
It does that too.
It does it all. Does it all.
Yeah.
Now it's at Fort Meade, but it used to be at Uncle Ben's Rest Home.
Oh, when did they move?
Oh, it's been years now.
Has it been?
Yeah, a long time.
Well, I guess I've been out of touch for a long time.
I guess so.
All right. You next went down to Quantico again for 6 months. And the
in amphibious warfare school. I was the only woman of 101 students.
So you weren't in public affairs now?
No, not
You're
hardly.
learning how to land on beaches.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting. I didn't really understand tactical maps.
Oh, I see.
So the two people that taught me were Greek officers, because we had all Greek.
Okay.
They came from Greece.
Yeah.
So they sat me down and showed me how to do this and that, taught me how to read a tactical map.
Well, good.
So I got through it.
I can't imagine a Marine not knowing how to read a tactical.
Well, but I was a public affairs
but
officer.
you're a Marine.
Well, give it up.
Okay. All right. Well, but you learned about the amphibious warfare. I've been through that. I've gone through that. Not to school, but we certainly made an amphibious landing once. All right. Now you had another good assignment coming up, right?
I went out to El Toro,
okay.
which doesn't exist anymore. They keep tearing things down after I leave. I don't know what the problem is, but I went out there, and it was an air station just south of Los Angeles, and went out there and was the public affairs officer there for that place, and we had a blimp station across the way, Tustin, and so I was the PAO for both of those.
Mm-hmm. And while there, did you start your master's degree? Is that?
No, that was later on.
Later on.
Yes.
Okay. Well, where did you go from Toro? Is that where you were the?
I went to Camp Pendleton, down the road, like 50 miles down the road to Camp Pendleton.
Okay. Well, where were you liaison to the Western White House?
That was at El Toro.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that. That sounded like a very interesting job.
It was interesting. I had to do all the
public affairs?
Well, no, it wasn't public affairs. I didn't do any of that. I did I'll think of it. For all the news media.
Yeah.
They had to have a certification from me to get into the gate and to watch the president come and go.
Did you get a chance to meet the president, or?
Nah, didn't pay any attention to that.
Okay. Neither he nor his wife.
No.
Well.
But it was interesting.
All right. So, well, do you have any stories from that are in?
Not really.
Not really any stories.
Not really any that I want to talk about.
I see. I wondered if that was the case. All right.
It was the case.
Well, we'll let you get by with that.
Good.
All right. So you go back to El Toro after that? Is that?
That was at El Toro.
Okay.
And the Western White House was down at San Clemente, so it was just down the road from where we were.
Well, now, when did you get your master's?
Oh, that was after I went to Camp Pendleton, and then I started it there.
Okay.
And then got brought back to headquarters Marine Corps with 3 months to go on my master's. They didn't trust me, but they sent me back anyway. And so I got it.
This is Pepperdine that you're...
Yes, absolutely. It was 1 week, and it was three weeks out of the month. You went for 1 day, and then you came back for another. It was interesting.
Yeah.
To do that.
But you were able to do this on active duty while you were
Oh, yes.
While you were working?
Because I did it on Saturdays and Fridays and Friday nights and Saturdays.
Okay. Yeah, that's hard way to get it.
Oh, well, I got it. I was a Marine. What do you expect?
Well, I expect you to. It's either the hard way or the Marine way or the easy way. Is that?
It was the Marine way.
Marine way.
Yes.
Or the cowboy way is.
Or sort of.
All right. So now you come up with another interesting job, at least from my point of view, the National Committee for Employer Support of the Guard and Reserves.
It was interesting. I saw my dentist this morning. He was talking about a friend of his that was on active duty. He was now off of active duty. I said, "What's his employer say?" And he didn't know. But that's what it was all about. I did 4 years there.
Now, that wasn't just Marine Guard, was it?
No,
It
we
was
were all services
all
again.
service, and-
They kept throwing me in these mix-up mashes.
Well, tell me a little bit more. National Community for Employer Support.
National Committee for Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve. What we did was try to encourage employers to keep people's jobs when they went off on active duty.
Okay.
So when they came back, they had a job,
Yeah.
allegedly. It didn't always work out that way.
And you had contact with the employer of those
Yes,
people?
absolutely.
The Marines and
Not Marines, just all.
all services?
Yes, all services.
All Reserve and National Guard?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's not true of active duty. That's only the Guard and...
Well, they're the only ones that go off on active duty for 6 months or a year and then come back and try to get a job again. It's not easy.
I'm sure it isn't. And the current reserves and National Guard have had so many deployments over the last 10, 15 years. It must have really been difficult for their families and for them.
It's got to be awful.
Yeah. Do you have any knowledge of people in the last 10 or 15 years? I mean, you weren't on active duty.
No, I wasn't. I retired many years ago.
Yeah, many years ago.
Many years ago.
Well, you retired after I did, so...
Okay, all right. It's still a long time ago.
Several years after I did, as a matter of fact, yeah. All right. You then went to New Orleans.
Yes.
Was that next?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell us about New Orleans.
Great job.
Great job.
Unfortunately, I got promoted out of that job, but it was a great job while I had it for 2 years. I was the public affairs officer for the division and the wing. We had 300 some units around the country who were reserve units, and so we were responsible for all of them.
Now, the Marine has only one reserve division and one reserve airway.
Exactly.
Yeah. You have 2 or 3 active divisions, is it?
Three active divisions. And the fourth. This was the fourth division. And they're the ones that had the units all over the country.
Yeah.
And the wing also.
Yeah. All right. You said it was an interesting job. Why was it so interesting?
Well, because I got to do the Toys for Tots program.
Oh.
My boss was really in charge, but he said, Sally, it's all yours, so go do it.
Now, that has been a Marine Corps program for
a long, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, a lady who's here, her husband was a co-founder of it, Joe DeMaio. Her husband was co-founder of Toys for Tots. Mm-hmm. But yes, it's been a long time.
I guess I first remember it about 80, somewhere along in there, 80.
It's been longer than that, a lot longer than that.
When did it start?
I'm saying like 1947.
Oh, did it?
Oh, yeah, it's been a long time.
Well, it was a very small program.
Yeah, it was.
And even when I remembered, it was a matter of you collecting toys at buildings and...
Well, it still is.
But, now it's a much bigger...
A lot bigger.
We get requests for donations and so forth.
Yeah, they didn't do that when I was there.
Yeah, they just were looking for toys, and I assumed that the toys were collected by Marine units and,
yes, they are,
and distributed by Marine units.
Yes, they were.
Now, are they still?
Yes, they're still distributed by Marines.
Are they the only ones that distribute, or is it?
Absolutely, Marines are the only ones that give out the toys to the little kiddies.
Okay. But it's a big program now.
Oh, it's huge.
Any idea how big?
No, I don't.
I don't know either.
I don't know. I just give money to it. And give toys, too.
Yeah, me too.
Because the the organization I belong to has a Toys for Tots thing. Every year we all bring 2 toys, and they have the the reserve Marines come in their blues and they accept the toys, and it's wonderful.
And this is done, I presume the reserve units all over the country.
Exactly, yeah.
So they're the ones that really are the bread.
In addition to their training, they do Toys for Tots.
Yeah. Well, so it's a wonderful program.
It is.
And how long were you running this program?
Just 2 years.
And you were running it when it was this.
When it was just Marines.
Yeah.
There were no outside organizations.
So then you went from there to the Office of Equal Opportunity in the Pentagon.
Yeah,
And that was it, huh?
that was it.
Well, tell us about it.
It. You could have it.
You can have it.
That was another joint service
Yeah.
thing. There were three colonels. I was one of the three colonels, and a lieutenant colonel. That was the whole office.
Okay.
For the whole
For the
Department
Office
of
of Equal
Defense.
Opportunity.
For the whole Department of Defense.
Okay. And it was your job then to try to.
Try to alleviate some of the problems out there.
So you were trying to alleviate problems. You weren't trying to make sure people were distributed or anything like that.
No, we didn't do that. No, only if somebody had a problem with their boss or whatever, they would call us and we'd try to help.
Yeah. Okay, and I presume you had a lot of problems?
No, not too many.
Oh, is that right?
Not as many as I would expect.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's encouraging.
It was back then, but
Yeah.
that was a long time ago.
Yeah. So you retired,
I retired.
and you then, after a couple of years after retirement, you became the assistant to the president of the Women in Military Service. Or
Memorial, yes.
Memorial. Give me the exact wording.
Women in Military Service for America Memorial Foundation Incorporated.
And that's located, and the
It's a museum
museum is located.
at the gateway to Arlington Cemetery. If you drive into Arlington, you either have to go left or right.
Yeah.
But if you went straight ahead, that'd be the memorial.
You're running into it.
That's right.
How do you get into it?
You go through the door.
Where, in the center?
No,
On each end?
there's doors at each end.
At each end?
Yes.
Where do you park?
That's a problem. You got to
Yeah.
park in the duty parking lot
Down?
Yeah.
And then walk up?
and walk, yeah.
There's no parking at?
Nope.
No. And I think that's a big mistake because,
What are you going to do, though?
well, they could park along
No, they couldn't.
they couldn't do that?
That would hamper the funerals.
Well, but I don't mean inside the gate.
I know what you're talking about. I don't think
It's very wide. You don't think they could park there? Well, I've always looked at it as why doesn't the Women in
Military Service for
Military
America
Service
Memorial
have
Foundation
parking
Incorporated.
spaces there? I've been in them, and it's a very nice museum.
It is
Tell
nice.
us a little bit more about it.
It's beautiful. We have all kinds of artifacts from way back when to current day.
5 minutes.
Okay?
Yeah. So you have a lot of artifacts in.
Yes.
Yeah.
We even have the cane of the woman who, there's only one woman who got the Legion, the Purple Heart. No, not the Purple Heart, the special one.
Medal of Honor?
Medal of Honor. She got it. I bet you didn't know that, did you?
I don't. Who was it?
Oh, now you.
I bet you don't know that.
Yes, I did know it. Not fair. But we have her cane.
Yeah.
And her, well, she had it, and then they took it away from her. The Army took it away from her, and then they finally gave it back to her.
Oh, you mean the Medal of Honor?
Yes, they took it away from her, and then years later, it was a couple of years ago, they gave it. Congress gave it back to her.
What did she get a medal for?
Well, for saving guys, saving people.
Yeah.
She dressed as
During what war?
World War II. No, it was before World War II.
World War I?
Yeah, World War I. And she dressed as a man.
Yeah.
And went in, and they didn't know she was a man, so they.
And she was over in France then, I presume.
I don't know where she was.
Yeah. No, I haven't heard this story before.
So, see, you learned something, didn't you?
I thought I knew everything.
Oh, wrong. Nobody knows everything.
Nobody knows everything, isn't that for sure? No, I wasn't aware of that.
Yes.
It's interesting. I'll have to look it up.
Trust me.
Then I'll know that too.
Yeah, that's true.
But that was in World War I.
Yes.
So they have Hurricane there. And,
Yes.
what else do they have there?
You name it. They've got each war is categorized, and then at the end there's a room that has it's got the other piece of granite from the one at Arlington. You know, the one where your guys march back and forth.
Yeah. Oh, from the
yes.
Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
And there's a piece of granite in the women's memorial from that.
Oh, is that right?
As well, yes.
Okay.
And there's a flag from each service and all yada yada yada.
Yeah. Well, I would hope that those of you who haven't been to the women's in military service memorial
You'll get
a
right.
chance to go.
Oh yes.
Because it is. I've been there.
Very interesting.
Matter of fact, our West Point Alumni Glee Club sang there about 3 years ago.
Not surprised.
That's when
That's good.
I was there. Well, after that, you decided it was time to give up working,
Yes.
or
I've had it.
and retire and come to Green Spring
Well,
and live the life of leisure on our cruise
right,
ship around the world here.
Sort of.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you don't think it's a cruise ship?
No, I don't.
What do you think of it?
Another job.
Just a place to live.
Works for me.
Well, I guess we do have a lot of things to do here.
Yes, we do.
And what do you do?
Oh, I do the philanthropy.
Okay.
I've
You're
been-
the chair of the
I'm
philanthropy
chair of the
committee.
philanthropy committee, have been for the last 3 years.
And that's a very important job.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I know.
Yeah.
And then I do the showgirls
Okay.
in the windows
Yeah.
displays, and I do resident life. And part of that, I do Shining Star. You name it, I do it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. It helps to have. Do you have any other activities going on? Well, there's one thing that happened in 2010 that we haven't talked about.
Oh dear, what?
You got an award.
Which one?
The one from Alfred University, the Abigail Allen
Yeah.
Award.
Yeah. I didn't remember that, but yes, I did. It's hanging on my wall. I should look at it every day.
I got that, and I got it for my 20-some years in the military service.
That's true.
Yeah, 22.
I'm the senior woman of that whole university.
Oh.
Senior woman of any service.
Is that right?
Yes.
Good.
I'm waiting for somebody else to join.
Well, we probably didn't have too many women colonels when you made colonel either, did you?
No, we didn't.
How many do we have? You have any idea?
Well, we have a bunch now, but back
then
there were 5 of us at one point.
Is that right?
A whole 5. Yes.
Now, that was just Marines?
No, yes, just Marines.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about the other services.
Yeah, because we had Grace Hopper, who was a
Oh, yes.
captain for
Absolutely. Forever.
forever. That's right. I liked Grace. I thought she was
a
just
sweetheart.
a wonderful person. All right. Well, let's see what else we have. Oh, one more thing. The U.S. Marine Corps Combat Correspondence Association. Tell us about that. We've only got about a minute.
Well, that was an organization that was established after World War II.
Yeah.
Combat Correspondence came back and said, let's have an organization. So they did. So it's been going ever since.
Okay. And so you're a member of that. Were you a member of it when it started, or?
No.
No.
I wasn't around in World War
Well, I don't mean that, but while you
No.
were active, this is
Retired.
retired.
Since I was a member from 1963 on.
Oh.
65 on.
Oh, when you became a public?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I see. All right. All right. Well, Sally, thank you very much for being
My pleasure. I'm sorry I was.
Thank you very much for being my guest on Who's Who today, and I hope you've gotten to know Sally a little bit better than perhaps you knew her. And if you don't know her better than you did before, I don't know what we're going to do. Anyway, Sally, thank you very
You're
much.
so welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.
And we've got a couple of announcements, so don't run away yet.
So I think having a support group is very, very valuable. And thank God that here at Green Spring you actually have a very active group led by people like yourself, and you keep yourselves well informed through this TV station, and the people you invite who come and speak here, who are interested in informing your residents about resources and services and medical treatments and so on and so forth. And I think it's very valuable that support groups get to meet other support groups. One of the ones that Anne was mentioning was one that Sandy runs, which is at the Reston Public Library, and sometimes it's interesting for one support group to go and visit another support group and find out what they're doing, what they're learning.
Think so.
You know?
Yes.
So in this way, we continue to help ourselves. So it's I think, a very useful and valuable resource.
Well, one of the things that has happened here is that we have a hearing loss support group and a Parkinson's support group and a few others, but they all are beginning to coordinate their efforts together and work to support each other too. So I think there's beginning to be reciprocity between the support groups, which is a really fine thing.
Exactly.
I mean, we all have commonalities, and I think that's becoming very much apparent. Well, I think we're down now to the last couple of minutes here. What could you say about the future in terms of low vision? Do you see more cures, more devices? What would be your take on this?
Well, I think the most important thing is that everyone should always remain hopeful that there are new things on the horizon. And it's not just medical breakthroughs, which we absolutely anticipate, and we look forward to some wonderful medical breakthroughs. I don't know when we'll ever replace the entire human eyeball and restore vision back to normal. That may occur, but there are things that are occurring even on a small level, whether we're treating macular degeneration with new ways to slow it down even better, whether we're finding better ways to anticipate it so people know they have it earlier rather than in its later stages. By intervening earlier, we're preventing it from becoming more advanced and developing more difficulties for patients. So all of those things are always on the horizon. I think people, especially in a place like this, shouldn't think that because these are age-related issues that somehow science and the medical community doesn't feel it's an important issue. On the contrary, I think our population is aging, and we have more people over the age of 65 now than we ever had before, and that's just going to double. And we have more people even living in 85 and above categories. And individuals still have good enough health, good enough mental faculties, and they want to lead a productive, good quality of life. And so society is definitely gearing itself towards that. Certainly the medical community is gearing itself towards that. So I think there's going to be this paradigm shift, if you like, where you're going to see a greater emphasis on chronic conditions, ways to ameliorate them, ways to cope with them. And like you said, it's not just that people with vision impairment are forgiven from having other physical ailments. There's going to be other things too. So there's greater interaction and collaboration between specialties, saying you're dealing with somebody with vision loss, but they also have Parkinson's, and maybe the Parkinson's is contributing towards it as well. And how do we combine both strategies? And as far as visual aids and devices go, I think, as you said right at the outset today, because of technology, I can definitely anticipate technology will take over so many things. We will all be in cars that drive themselves, so it won't matter if you have to give up your driver's license. You won't be giving up your independence because you'll get into a car and say, well, drive me to the grocery store, you know? So we can look forward to all of those things. So it's not all doom and gloom, and we should certainly be very positive and hopeful that in the future we'll have better options, better strategies available, certainly.
Well, I think with that very positive note, I was hoping you would have some positive things to say, and you absolutely did. And it was lovely having you here. Your contributions have all along been terrific. And Dr. Alibi, as always, we're just delighted having you here today, and you're going from here now to the low vision group to speak to them. So many thanks to you both for coming. I think this has been very helpful.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you soon.